First of all, on behalf of group number 3, working group 3, I would like to address our thanks to the SIP staff who elaborated the first draft. It was a very solid document and it was a starting point for our discussion. So thank you very much, SIP. It has been unanimously identified in our debate. We have identified 3 fields of activities which, if properly addressed, will become pillars in supporting pain management and management in cancer patient survivors. These 3 pillars are in the field of education, research, and funding. First slide, if possible, please. Can anybody help me? Okay. Of course, when we talk about this, we have to make sure that, we have to say something that none of this will be properly implemented unless we address some of the present inequalities in the European societies, which may which may even jeopardize the sound implementation across Europe of the 3 identified pillars. When we talk about education, we have concluded that education must be continuous and that primary responsibility of education is the national governments have the primary responsibility. We should not forget, however, that as patients of organization, we also have a duty in educating the patients, because we say that the more they know, the better will they be prepared to secure their own rights in being properly treated. Education should start, when it comes to the government, we refer mainly in addressing the educational needs at the universities, at all levels, not only for the PhD or just for the medical.
But also it will also include the nursing staff and all other members of a multidisciplinary team. And because I reached this point, it is vital that the nurses are also properly equipped to address all these problems, considering that in Europe, the dynamic has changed right now. There is a massive movement of doctors from one country to another, and in most of the cases, they leave behind a gap which unfortunately has to deal with human beings. Education is not limited only to the medical staff. Education encompasses also society, family, carers, because a pain patient or a pain cancer survival is usually confronted with stigma from the society. And therefore, they need to learn what kind of attitude they must have vis-à-vis these patients. And in this respect, as I mentioned before, the main responsibility comes to the patient's organization. The second pillar, which we have identified, and I would like to reiterate that we have reached consensus, even if these slides are not final slides because they need a little bit of brushing, they represent more the outcome of the main discussion, but it has been reached the consensus regarding the 3 different pillars. So research across Europe, it is vital that all states are involved in this research,
by providing data which will enable the professionals to go a little bit farther in their researches, and maybe you as a professional doctor, you may say something about it.
Again, pain management does not only, it's not only the remit of the doctor. I would always emphasize the need for the multidisciplinary approach. So whatever research is carried out, whether into learning new techniques or auditing, this has to be the remit of all the members of a multidisciplinary team.
Shall we go to the last? Mm-hmm. The last pillar, which is extremely important, it's funding. Funding not from the private, because there are not that many foundations willing to invest in research, like in the United States, for example, but funding from the EU. EU has the main responsibility of the health of its citizens, and therefore they have to invest in these researches. Researches will allow us not only to secure better treatment, but also to initiate, to launch programs and to launch awareness campaigns. And EU should also consider funding this, because it's part of the researches in a way or another, not the scientific research, but the other social research which completes in a way the scientific outcome. Would you like to say?
Just end on this note, although it's not on the slide. Coming from a tiny country myself, I would like to call upon members of legislation to ensure the fairness of cost. Like countries of our size, I'm coming from Malta, would not have the purchasing power of the treatments necessary for the management of chronic pain that other big countries would have. And that does adversely affect our supply of treatment. So I'd like to ask the legislators to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's all.